Welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I'm John Kim.
And I'm Noelle Cordeaux. We are the founders of Lumia.
And we're super passionate about all things coaching, and we want to share what we've learned from over a decade of coaching and training thousands of life coaches.
Let's dive into the science and magic of coaching.
Let's talk about positive psychology, your favorite topic, and relationships, my favorite topic.
Yes, this is the chocolate and peanut butter of what we do, right? So, and I just wanted to drop in a note about inclusivity and diversity, because I think a lot of times people hear those words, but there's not really a true understanding of what they mean. So diversity just refers to the facts that there are lots of people and things that make them unique. So not everyone experiences relationships or being in relationships the same way. And inclusion refers to the behaviors and social norms that make people feel welcome and comfortable. So as we're going down this rabbit hole, I want to make sure that our listeners know that we are aware of something called the binary, which is one man, one woman, that's held up as the standard. And we're busting those doors open and saying, no, this is all relationships, however you choose to experience relationships.
Right. I love that you said that. And I think it's very topical today where people are having more conversations that are wider instead of narrow when it comes to relationships.
Oh, yeah. And we have to, and we'll get to this, but, thinking in terms of the binary of, one person to one person, and that one person somehow being a magical unicorn that can fulfill all your needs really puts people at a disadvantage.
So much pressure, expectation, all of that.
Yeah. Pressure, expectation, the whole 9 yards. So let's talk about how this stuff works. So we're going to take things that happen in relationships day in, day out, and then apply positive psychology to them so that we can figure out how to strengthen our relationships. Talk to me about your perspective on passion versus obsession.
Ooh. The first thing that comes to mind is I feel like passion is holding and obsession is grabbing.
Ooh, that's good. That's good.
And I think that in relationships, holding, whether it's space or someone's heart or, what they said, holding is what makes people feel safe and free. And grabbing is what makes people run, feel unsafe.
Yeah. And kind of along those lines, where my mind went to is passion is really open. It's something that can be shared. And obsession is closed and makes things very narrow.
I love this. And I love and sometimes it's a fine line, right? Between passion and obsession.
It can be. And hey, both are fun, right? So let's not forget that in all of this, it's fun and twisted, and that's why we like love. and that's what makes it fun. But I think, passion tends to be long-term, whether we're talking about a pursuit or a relationship or loving or how we do it. You can have passion for your kids. You can have passion for your partner, for your career. And then when you get obsessed with something, it's almost like you're chasing an ideal, that you're putting that person or that child or that career on a pedestal. That's an unrealistic expectation.
Limerence lasts 18 to 24 months. Describe limerence.
Okay, so this is important. This is actually not coming from the world of positive psychology. This is coming from the world of neurobiology. And limerence is the period of time when folks first get together or fall in love, or I think this can happen when you have kind of like a relationship resurgence and you fall in love again. Esther Perel talks a lot about this. She said she's been married to the same person, but she's been in 6 different marriages with that same person. And yeah, so it's an 18 to 24 month period where you're really in that goopy love state. And what's noteworthy here is the role of serotonin. So your serotonin drops. And that increases your risk-taking behavior. That's why, you think that your person put the moon in the sky for you and you're kind of willing to do crazy, nutty things.
Yes. And the danger here, and I've experienced this myself, is we tend to chase the serotonin that we had when we were younger, meaning, when love hits when we're younger, because our hearts are just powdered snow. Those imprints are so deep. And so a lot of times as adults, we try to chase that feeling, which can be dangerous because, sometimes that feeling is not realistic because, we're not 18 and discovering love for the first time anymore.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And so the behavioral marker here that we're looking for, no matter who you're relating to or how you're relating, is a feeling of losing yourself.
Right. And that feels amazing, even though it's not healthy.
It does. It feels amazing. And I hear people tell me this, and I'm sitting here knowing what I know about the brain. And I'm like, oh, there's that serotonin drop right there. And they're like, no, this person completes me. And I'm like, it's serotonin. Give it 24 months, like.
Can you get addicted to this feeling?
Yes, you can get addicted to the feeling. And that's where the, increased risk-taking behavior comes in. And that's, when we're looking at humans objectively and looking at how they form romantic relations, historically, humans tend to be serial monogamists. And I think that reflects that addiction to the chase, to falling in love, to the new thing, to the rush, to the latest crush. But in reality, if we're talking about passion versus obsession and how to use positive psychology to sustain a whole, healthy, happy, and fulfilled life, you need an entire web of folks, not just one, to enhance your existence and make you stronger in your relationship.
Yeah. And I think that if you are not aware of this and you're just chasing the serotonin high, it could be the beginning of love addiction, actually just only chasing that without actually building something that's sustainable.
It could be. And, it's also that fleeting feeling of my needs aren't being met. My needs aren't being met. And so instead of looking at your life in a context of, well, what needs specifically? Have I let my friendships go? Have I let my relationships with my family go? Have I let my relationships with my work and my creative pursuits go? Have I let my hobbies go? So, what needs aren't being met, and how can you look outside of your relationship to go back and make yourself whole?
That's a really powerful question.
Yeah. Yeah. We know that. So subjective well-being is just a baseline of overall emotional health. The number one predictor for getting to that state is having a variety of social relationships.
Yes. So, hence the parentheses, all relationships in this episode.
All relationships. Yeah. And even thinking about, folks who live in and express relationships differently, like me, it's a kind of like a built-in way of looking at your whole context of life and saying, okay, well, what need is not being met? And rather than turning to a person who's probably overburdened with my needs, how can I look outside of my relationship to get those needs met?
Yeah, I think that we're generally in the world because love is so shiny, and we've been injected with commercials and Disney movies and all of this, that we put so much weight and pressure on the intimate relationship, and we neglect other relationships like friendships, relationships with coworkers, other partnerships, and so then we're putting all our chips on finding quote unquote the one, or investing in that intimate relationship, and I think that pressure is just, it's too much. And if you don't find that kind of relationship that you want or are expecting, then you drop, you can get depressed or feel that you're less than because of that.
Very much so. And I think another important thing to highlight is when we're chasing that feeling of excitement that we've come to characterize as romantic love, you can experience it platonically with other people within friendships.
What are your friends, guys?
What are your friends? Have you ever had a friendship experience where you meet someone and it's just like an instant love fest? It's totally platonic, but you're like obsessed with each other.
Absolutely. It's when you have coffee with someone, and then you and I go on a lot of business meetings, and sometimes it turns into a 2-hour conversation about life and love and whatever. And you're like, wow, we didn't even talk about business, but I really connected to this person. And suddenly there's an authentic friendship for me.
And when you leave that space, you feel enhanced.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the biggest things I've discovered in the last decade is when I was married, I had no friends. I thought friends were pointless. I was all about, just me and my wife. I need to go build something. I need to make money. What's the point of friends? Friends are a waste of time. And I was very alone. And then after my divorce, man, I found so many friends just through fitness. And I have my guys that I ride motorcycles with and work out with. And then I've got my other friends I eat crepes with and talk about feelings with. And I've learned in the last decade, it's not an option. Like, you need friends. And if you have a lot of great friends, it only enhances your relationship.
Yes, 100%. And I really, guys, if you're listening, I want you to start thinking about how you can get your needs met from different friend sets. So, like, John, do you mind if I pick on you for a second with your friends?
Pick on me as much as you want. That's why I'm here.
Awesome. So, thinking about what I know of your awesome man crew, right? You guys are obsessed with each other's bodies.
Yes, maybe. Okay.
Yes. Come on. And doesn't that feel good?
It does in a healthy way,
In a healthy way.
Yeah. Making each other accountable, doing workouts. My friend Jeff is now doing a marathon. My friend Andy climbs rocks now. And so, always keeping that, conversation going.
And you egg each other on and you compliment each other. And
well, so they pick on me, they bag on me, but yes, in a way, it is love and compliments at the end of the day.
It is love and compliments. And you're getting that attention on your physical body that I think traditionally as we're growing up, you're like, oh, that should come from a lover. But here you have this built-in great group of friends that are filling this need for you.
Right. And I didn't even think of it that way. Right. And if I didn't have them, my relationship with my body would be I'd be doing it alone.
You'd be doing it alone. And you might be bugging your partner who's like, get away, I do yoga.
Exactly. And then you put, a black light on that contrast or that mismatch. And then you judge the relationship when you could have taken care of all of that with friends.
Exactly. We're there. Passion versus obsession. Getting your needs met from multiple people. Social relationships is the greatest predictor of subjective well-being. All right. Next one. Forcing positivity.
Yes. Don't wait for positive emotions to just happen.
No. And I think that's where people get stuck. So we live with this thing called negativity bias that focuses our brain on that which is negative. But in reality, except for very extreme circumstances, most people have access to far more positive things than negative things on a regular basis.
Yes. And when you say force, you're not saying in a fake way. Right. You're saying intentionally, you're saying make an effort, because our default can be negative. You're not saying force as in like white knuckle positivity.
No. And I'm talking about forcing the focus, forcing the focus of your lens to shift from that which is negative to that which is positive, because you always have a choice. At the end of the day, when you're gathering with your friends or your family or who's ever in your life, you have a choice. You can bitch about your day, or you can talk about the good things that happened.
This is probably, although simple and easier said than done, this is probably one of the most important things that I've learned. This is actually like everything to me, because the old John Kim defaulted in negativity all day. I'm not there. Someone's trying to take something from me. Every thought I had was worry, dread, self-protection, and running. And I'm still working on it, but these days it's very different. I mean, even when, I called you this morning to do this podcast and you were like, how are you? I'm sitting in my living room with no pants on like you, looking at the,
Yes.
the view, and it's gorgeous in LA. I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to do today, and I'm just positive, and I was happy to hear from you. And it's a very different default than the old John Kim, where I would have lied and just been sitting here, dreading everything.
Yeah. And, and it's so interesting when you have very long-term relationships, because I knew you when.
I think you knew me in the beginning of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was different then too. I didn't have I was still really struggling with depression back in the old days. My self-confidence was significantly lower, and I knew that the gratitude and the positive emotions worked, but I really hadn't come to fully embody it in my life. And now both of us, almost a decade later, are substantially changed by leaning into the inducement of positive emotions.
Do you think that do you think age is a factor? Meaning, do you think it's easier to practice positive psychology when you get older, or no?
No, I think it's awareness. I think it's awareness. If you're not aware of the science, if you're not aware how your brain works, if you're not aware that inducing positive emotions creates a chemical impact that changes your brain from pessimist to optimist, you won't do it, right? So this is one of the reasons why we run our coaching intensive. This is why we shout this science from the rooftops, because it changes lives. It changes the way you experience your life.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, it's a practice, and it wasn't yesterday that I was defaulting to negative. It was 10 years ago. And it took me, man, so many years to constantly be reminded and practice, observe people like Noelle, where, seeing the effects of positive psychology in her life. And just, constant everyday reminders, videos, audiobooks. It's a true practice. You have to do it like the way that you eat, diet, and move.
Very much so. And something that I read really recently that was so interesting is that, we talk a lot about the very physical manifestations of what would be described as mental illness, even though I don't really like that term. So like depression, anxiety, in very great measures can be qualified as mental illness. The absence of mental illness doesn't mean the presence of emotional health. They're two different things.
Yeah. I think it's important to be aware of that.
Yeah, to be aware of it and to treat them separately, that you can experience depression and anxiety and still lean into positive emotions to support your emotional health. And the outcome of inducing positive emotions is cardiovascular health. It improves your heart functioning.
Absolutely. And that's something that we don't think about as well.
Yeah. So I want to run you through the top 10 emotions that give you this really almost nutritional brain boost that you can share in your relationships to bring everybody up. And that's the great thing about this stuff, is it's contagious.
I see this as soil, I see this as, yeah, absolutely.
It is. And like, think about the way that this ripples and has just rippled through our own lives between the two of us, our little friend groups, our coaches, our company. Like it's endless.
Sure. Absolutely.
It's endless. Joy, gratitude, serenity, interest, hope, pride, amusement, inspiration, awe, and love.
All higher frequencies.
Yeah. And so love, let's stay with that for a sec because it's really important. Love encompasses all of the other top 10 emotions.
Oh, interesting.
And it is the most commonly experienced human emotion. And it is excited by the presence of others.
Yeah. And when people say love, we kind of automatically think romantic love, but that's not what you're talking about.
No, it's not what I'm talking about at all. Love. Well, so if we're going back to the neurobiological definition here from Barbara Fredrickson, it's micro moments. Love is a micro moment of an agreement for mutual care.
I love that you said micro moments, because I think when we think about love, we think about like, the grand, the big ideas, the big feelings, the broad strokes. But yeah, it could just be in moments, the one comment, the eye contact, the moment when you feel something because you felt supported. I think all of that was what really love is about. They come in moments.
Oh yeah, and it's not just humans. Your pets count too.
Yeah, more from your pets than humans.
Yeah, but pets count too. And it's the taxi cab driver that, genuinely told you to have a good day. It's, the co-working space where you had a really cool conversation with that guy you didn't know that well. Love can be found everywhere and it builds us up.
I just had an experience last night. I was meeting a friend for dinner. I was on my motorcycle. I ran out of gas. And so I was at a gas station, and the guy in front of me, and of course I was impatient. I was late. And the guy in front of me was so lighthearted and joking. He turned around, and he was a stranger, gave me a high five. And it was only, 3 or 4 seconds. But when I walked away, man, it checked me so much, because I was like, I want to have what he's having. And it was in those micro moments, a complete stranger, and we were just at the gas station doing very mundane things like filling our vehicles with gas, but a stranger giving me a high five and smiling, and he cracked a joke for no reason other than that was the zone that he was in, made me realize, like, man, that's really powerful, how moments like that, the human exchange, and how contagious that is. And it just made me realize, like, why am I stressed out because I'm late to it? Like, what's the big deal, And it just really checked me.
That guy was probably freaking madly in love. His serotonin levels were low, and he was just like high-fiving everybody.
Yes. And it wasn't fake. He wasn't like on drugs or anything. It was authentic. And I was like, man, I want to have what he's having. I wonder what his life looks like. And I was like, that's the plane that I want to live on.
That's awesome. And, following up on that is our last point, and it's honoring and using each other's strengths and getting really grateful and intentional about it. So, like, if that guy was in a contagious mood and he was a friend of yours, you might have invited him out to dinner and been like, let's spread this around. Let's see how many people we can infect with this happiness bug,
Yeah, and I think that's now really powerful. Then it's bigger than you.
No, it's bigger than you, very much so. And the concept is working with yourself, not against yourself. You can get things from other people. If your partner is in a great mood and you're in a shitty mood, you can decide, hey, I'm going to join them in their great mood.
Yeah. I think in a way that's kind of how we're all connected as humans. The practice of love, the power of love. How you can get pulled out of the trenches and quicksand just by someone's positivity, and how contagious that can be.
Yes, it's force versus flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's force versus flow. To let the people in your life do what they're good at and celebrate them in the moment, and then let your shit go.
Yeah. Guys, as you're listening to this, think about all your relationships, not just your intimate relationship, and think about what you need to do to get some of that flow going, whether it's in moments or on a grander scale. What do you need to do to live at that higher frequency and experience those top 10 emotions that we were talking about?
The top 10 emotions. And I have to say, they're all absolutely wonderful. Playfulness, serenity, interest, hope, pride, inspiration, awe. But what I have found to be the most effective when we're really drilling down on the relationship itself is gratitude. Because it shifts the emotional template of how you experience others. And I have a pro tip. So voicing your gratitude is really important. And if you want to deepen your current practice, it's a linguistic trick to shift from an I statement to a you statement, to really center and honor the person that you're expressing gratitude for. So it's the difference between, say you're up, you're working on a presentation, you're tired, you're cranky, and your partner comes home and cooks dinner. How awesome. Instead of saying, thank you for cooking dinner so that I could finish my presentation, which is probably a normal thing to say, to go a cut deeper, center the other individual. Once again, you stepped in. You are a kind and thoughtful person. Thank you.
Yeah, it's also more personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's personal. It gets you out of yourself. It gets you out of your head. It focuses on the open-heartedness of giving to that other person and really, recognizing them.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. What a great reminder.
We did that at our team meeting to close the year out.
Yes. Yeah. That was really powerful, actually.
Wasn't that powerful?
Well, because, you never get that in the day-to-day life. You don't actually sit in a meeting and people going around the room telling you what they appreciate about you or what your gifts are. That's not common language, and I think it should be, because I felt the power in that.
It creates intimacy, it creates trust. And when you're getting out of yourself and really looking at this other person and saying, wow, you bring something to my life, whether it's, Vanessa or Andy or Jeff, like to really say, like, this person brings something to my life, and you feel less alone. You experience less fear, less scarcity, and it frees your brain up to function at higher levels.
It takes courage to do that. It takes, dissolving of ego. It takes so much. And I think that vulnerability, to actually say, hey, this is how you make me feel and this is what I love about you. But man, if there's one takeaway from this episode, guys, if we can do that more and spread that fire, then love will definitely grow and flow.
Yes, I love that.
Well, anything else?
Nope. I think that's it. I'm feeling the happiness and love bubble zooming around. So I'm going to bop off into my day.
Thank you for the reminder, Noelle. And guys, remember, this is not, it's not a light switch. It's not something that you just accomplish over the weekend. It's a lifestyle and it takes a lot of time. But if you do this, and I know from just personal experience, man, my life is so different. And it's not because of things I have. It's because of this kind of stuff that I've been practicing more and more and still continuing to do, and realizing that this inner work is what's changed my life, not what's on the outside.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys. Be well. Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If you're feeling the draw to become a coach, head to lumiacoaching.com/everything. Explore a new career that brings fulfillment, gives you a true sense of purpose, and a bold community to do it with.
Lumia is ready to equip you with the tools, training, and community you will need to reach your goals. If you're ready to build a unique coaching business on your own terms while making an impact on the world at large, Lumia is the next bold step in your coaching journey. That's lumiacoaching.com/everything.
And hey, if you're waiting for a sign, this is it.